I feel like cleaning. If only there was a video game where I could do that. A lot. As a tiny robot. Chibi Robo is weird. It's a weird game to talk about. At first, I honestly did think that all this game was cleaning a house as a tiny little robot with a plug coming out of his butt. But there's actually more to it. It's a hard game to nail down, but I guess it's an exploration-based adventure game? Let's start with the plot, though. The plot starts at a birthday party for this little girl in a frog costume named Jenny Sanderson. Her mother tries to give her a hat for her birthday, and Jenny, well, her face says it all. You can't run around in a frog costume all day, you need a real hat. Yeah, you can't wear a frog costume anymore, you need a real hat. To wear on top of your frog costume. It's this little thing called being normal. Jenny's mom is a very mixed bag. She's very kind to you, the player, but at first she actually comes across as kind of mean. At one point, she literally calls her daughter a freak. Wow, you are the best mom ever. Telling it like it is. Mother of the Year award, everyone. And the father is a total bum. He's nice enough, but he's so lazy. He asks me to change the channel on the TV for him, since I guess they don't have a TV remote. Oh, don't worry, I'll climb Mount Television Everest for you and change the channel. I'm only 3 inches tall, no problem. He's also pretty insensitive and very irresponsible, constantly buying silly and wasteful things like children's toys, despite the fact that they have no money, and without ever consulting his wife. Speaking of which, that's where we come in. Chibi Robo and his, well, he says he's my manager, Television. We're 2 tiny little robots manufactured by a company called Citrasoft, and our purpose is to make our owners happy by any means necessary. Any means necessary. Actually, you do get a gun, so I'm actually not that far off. Why exactly a tiny little robot you buy at a local Walmart in order to clean your house would need a gun? I'm not really sure. It doesn't really seem safe. Hot. Diggity. Dog. That's awesome! Whoa, he picked up a flower. That was intense. And I got some happy points. And then I get some money, the only true happy points. So yeah, this game is basically about walking around a giant house. Well, a normal-sized house, it's only giant to you. Solving people's problems and earning money and happy points, which is what you get when you make people sad. Oh, I'm just kidding. It's when you make them happy. I'm sorry for confusing you. The more happy points you collect, the higher your ranking goes, and your ultimate goal is to become number 1. You start off at the ranking of 782,119, so yeah, it takes a while. You can also use your money to buy items. Some of them are necessary for progressing through the game, but most of them are optional. The way you gain money and happy points is basically by, well, making people happy, like I said. Give somebody a gift, clean the floor, feed the fish, reunite a frog wife with her long-lost husband, etc. At its core gameplay, it's basically a 3D platformer, except you have no control over your jump. You can only hop up small ledges like in a Zelda game, instead of having a variety of movement options built in from the get-go like in any other 3D platformer. This game is about using the environment as well as a couple of abilities you gain to traverse around. Climbing up power cables hanging off of tables, pulling out shelves to use as platforms, using a little helicopter to hover over small gaps or reach faraway ledges, etc. You need to be careful during all of this exploration though, and keep an eye on your remaining power. Run out of power and you die. You don't get to finish what you were doing. But on the bright side, you get this cute little costume, which costs you like $900, so actually never mind, don't die. Dying is bad. To recharge your battery, you just have to pick up the plug sticking out of your butt and plug it into one of the many power outlets scattered around the house. You can purchase ladders and bridges, which can be dragged around and activated using your plug, but extending these bridges and ladders takes quite a bit of power. You'll be running to recharge your battery pretty often in this game, making getting happy points even more appealing, since every time your ranking goes up, you receive a bonus battery, which extends the amount of time that you can run around being an adorable robot. You also need to keep an eye on what time it is. After 5 minutes, or 15 minutes if you buy the timer item, the day will end and you'll go back to your little hub room to cash in your happy points. Then when you leave, it's nighttime, and then it's daytime again, and then night, and then day. This repeats many times because this is how time works. You're welcome for that useful lesson. Aside from going in the backyard, you never actually leave the Sanderson house. This doesn't mean that the Sanderson family are the only characters in the game though, because at nighttime when they're all sleeping, the toys in the house come to life! Which results in some funny and pretty lovable characters, some adorable characters, and some horrifying characters. Jesus. I definitely didn't expect this game to turn into Toy Story when I started playing it, but I really like it. It definitely adds to how weird the game is. I know I've mentioned that already, but you know what? Let's talk about it. You'd think that this game would be super childish and innocent, but no. There's plenty of subject matter in this game that's arguably kind of inappropriate for children. Divorce, death, drug addiction. Seriously, there's a teddy bear who's addicted to flower nectar, and it's very much treated like a drug addiction. He goes through withdrawal and turns into a monster, and in order to cure him of his addiction, you have to bring him more nectar, and then even more. And then he wets himself. And just look at him. This game is really weird. You can gamble with this really weird looking toy. Honestly, I'm actually not sure what he's supposed to be. But don't give him any money. This guy is a cheater. Screw this guy. Another weird thing is, well, the basic concept. You're a sentient robot who's purchased in a store to essentially be a slave to this family and make them happy. And it's implied that this is usually via cleaning their house. But is this little guy really the most efficient way to clean your house? I'm pretty sure buying a broom or a vacuum cleaner would probably be cheaper and get the job done a lot better than a tiny robot. But hey, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe Chibi Robo is the next big revolutionary cleaning product of the 21st century. So, Chibi Robo is definitely one of those GameCube era games that holds up very well in the graphics department. The cartoony art style looks very pleasant, and at times really humorous. The comedic timing is very spot on in this game. I like the reflections on the floor and how shiny some of the things in the game look. The game overall just has a good amount of polish and it looks good. Honestly, I have no real issues with the game visually, even when nitpicking. Well, okay, I guess I don't really like how these soldier guys look. They don't look very good to me. Compared to the other characters in the game, the models for these guys just seems kind of lacking. I don't know, a little bit lazy. But yeah, one nitpick is really not that bad. This game is pretty good on the audio side of things too, though maybe not as good. There probably aren't many songs in this game that are gonna get stuck in your head after the fact, but that doesn't mean that the music is bad. It gets the job done very well, and I don't really think that there were any songs that I actively disliked. It's good music, and the music that plays right when you start the game sets the tone for the rest of the adventure. Aside from the music, the sound effects are actually really noteworthy. Not something I usually feel the need to talk about. but the overall sound design in this game is really, really good. The most prominent thing is that you create sound effects when you move around. This includes climbing, interacting with things, and every step that you take creating sound. And the sound effects change depending on what material you're walking on. And the tempo even speeds up when you pick up your plug, since you walk slightly faster when you aren't dragging your plug behind you. And honestly, I probably wouldn't have even realized this subtle gameplay mechanic if it weren't for the sound effects. So it actually helped me save some time when running around the house. Oh, and also the characters all talk in Banjo-Kazooie style, where they aren't really fully voice acted, but instead they just spout random gibberish. This is often very amusing. Though I will say it can get a bit tiring since you can't skip or speed up the dialogue, which does make some sections a lot slower and more tedious than they needed to be. So consider that a legitimate criticism. That annoyed me on more than one occasion. Speaking of tedium, there were also a couple spots in this game where I don't think the goal was particularly clear. Like here, very early on I see this sticker stuck to the swing set. It seems pretty obvious that I'm supposed to use the Chibi Blaster to break it. So I take aim, and I shoot! And nothing happens. And then I walked up to it, and then the game told me that I should shoot it. And now it works. I really hate it when games do this. They're literally punishing me for figuring it out before the game told me. And then there's this part. You have to stand on top of these toys and wait for them to slowly slide along the ground until two of them line up properly so that you can jump to the next one. Now, I enjoy platforming, I really do, but this part is just a little too slow. And the clock is ticking, I'm running out of time. Plus, I'm using up energy doing this. And well, it's just tedious and boring, and if I were to die here, I'd have to walk all the way back to try again. I didn't really enjoy this segment. Waiting for platforms is one thing, but they just move too slow. Making them move faster would have been a pretty simple fix. Overall though, my complaints on this game are pretty minimal. It's a pretty darn good game. It's just that it's a little hard to explain. I'd like to say that this game is like Pikmin, being about time management, but aside from having to go back to the hub room at the end of each day, there's no overall time limit. You can play this game as methodically and tediously as you want. An argument could be made that this makes the game feel more boring, there being no real stakes or reason to do things in a timely manner. But just being able to relax and do things at my own pace is fun in its own way. Exploring is a lot of fun, finding new areas and characters, getting attacked by spider robots. Merely reaching the second floor of this 2-story house feels like a massive accomplishment because of how small you are. In any other game, this really wouldn't be a big deal. But these stairs, these mere stairs, are like a mountain to you. And there's definitely something fun about mindlessly cleaning things. This game's like a combination of Animal Crossing and, I guess, Zelda. The basic gameplay is fun, exploring is fun, the story, without giving anything away, is weird as hell and pretty amusing. It has quite a few very memorable characters, great graphics and music. It has a few hiccups here and there, and admittedly, it doesn't really do any one thing groundbreakingly well. This is not a perfect game, but it's good. I had a lot of fun playing through it. And that's that. Maybe in the future I'll play the rest of the Chibi Robo games and do reviews on those. I honestly had a lot of fun playing this one. Now if you excuse me, I've got to get some housework done.
Look at